Welcome to All Things AI, User Testing's video series that looks at the current state of artificial intelligence and the opportunities it presents for experience research across UX, product development, marketing, and more. Hi, I'm Akiko Nagamine, Senior Product Marketing Manager here at User Testing. And our guest today is Scott Hutchins, our Vice President of Solutions Engineering. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love chatting about this.
Super excited to talk with you. Let's start off by having you tell our audience a little bit about your role at user testing and just your broader experience in the AI machine learning space.
My path here started over 4 years ago. I have a natural language processing company where I was the CTO, and that was acquired by user testing. So we did sentiment analysis and a lot of those other things, which we ended up incorporating into the product at user testing. So the journey started as an ML team lead, and then leading the data platform, and then leading a large part of platform services group before ultimately stepping into a role that allowed me to focus both on the development as well as operating those tools within the field.
Great. Great history there. And I know you've been pretty involved with everything we're doing around AI machine learning. But we're going to click up a couple of levels and start by talking about how we can frame AI in different ways. And what I mean by that is AI is such a very, very broad space. Even if we're narrowing into experience relevant applications, we could be talking about AI agents like Siri, Alexa, or self driving cars, or we could be talking about back office automations a customer technically never sees, or code assists, or anything in between. So, with that said, how does a team or an organization go about assessing opportunities to leverage AI?
Yeah. So I think right now there's a couple different frameworks that exist that are how teams are kind of leveraging different AI solutions. I think the main kind of paradigm that we see is trust. Like the main thing is people need to trust artificial intelligence in order to leverage it within their applications and what they're doing. Um, so we kind of see these experiences that are built around here's how you're currently doing things with human operations, and then layering artificial intelligence on top of those to build the trust to say if you as a human being would be making this decision, here's how artificial intelligence might do that. And kind of as first recommender solutions moving into kind of giving it agency to make some recommended actions. But I think we're also starting to see, as you mentioned, some kind of AI first implementations. And normally today, that's in chatbots or in language interfaces like Siri and Alexa, kind of really having these prompts, but those tend to be kind of limited scope where you're trying to accomplish one specific thing. I think we're still kind of at the precipice of figuring out how you might leverage artificial intelligence in building an AI first product line. But that's kind of the cool thing about being at user testing is we get to be a part of the conversation as people are testing those experiences so that we can start to see what might be the best practices as you're looking to roll out an AI first product line, and how do you test that on all the different types of personas that you might have.
So let me ask you this: what would you define is the role of AI? Is it to, accelerate some of those tasks with experts and ourselves as humans providing oversight, or is it kind of a key to helping us revolutionize how we work, how we create experiences we deliver, all those things? Where do you think we are at this point?
Yeah, at this point, we're still at the infancy. So I'd love to say that we're about to get to a co-pilot state where the artificial intelligence can be a companion that's operating with you, making recommendations, getting smarter, nudging you in the right direction, but as well, a nudge is something you can choose to disregard. Um, so I think that that's kind of the most mature state that we're currently at is that I think there will start to be experiences that are AI first, that aren't kind of saying, to take a self-driving car example. Right now, most self-driving cars are kind of optimized for a human to still override any decision made for safety concerns. And I think there will be a time where there's enough infrastructure in place that it becomes actually safer to let an AI first experience flourish, and what that will look like. I don't think we have answers to yet. But I think, yeah, right now it really is co pilot at best. And that's how we're looking at things internally within user testing as well, is how can we take up some of those tasks that people that are kind of the dirt shoveling tasks, the tasks that are repetitive, the tasks that aren't that fun, and pull humans away from those things that humans can idiosyncratically do really well.
For sure. So let's unpack that a little bit as well. You touched on this, but designing for AI, does AI fundamentally change the way we design products and experiences, or is it an accelerator? How does it impact not just what we design, but how we design and how we collaborate across teams in order to bring some of these solutions to market?
Like the safest answer is saying no. It's always just understanding your customer and working from there. But I think one of the things that AI does give us is, as I mentioned before, if you're evolving your product line, at some point in time, AI might give you a chance at more of a revolution than evolution of saying, if we completely reimagined how someone would want to generate an outcome, we kind of have a lot of loaded historical context, and here's why we do it the way that we do. So you build a process that kind of builds off of that. At some point there might be an AI first experience that allows for you to completely deconstruct how you're generating value for your organization and allowing AI to do that. But as I mentioned before, I think the way that you'll still have to be aware of is validating trust. So if a human being can't easily audit, here are the decisions I would have made, and here are the decisions being made by AI, they'll still need some way of being comfortable. And I think that that's where we might have to think about AI more as a generic bot, or even like an employee that works for you. I'm sure we've all had employees that have done awesome things, but you have no idea what they're really doing, and you're nervous if they're going to get you fired based on taking some liberties. I think AI needs the same oversight to make sure it might do the most awesome things, but it might also access data that it shouldn't, or present information to someone that it shouldn't. It might get you into hot water. So I think that that's kind of the oversight mechanism. So it does all start from understanding your customer, but I do think we're starting to see experiences that might be AI first that really are deviations from any of our existing design patterns.
Let's talk about user experience expertise and experience in the AI and specifically machine learning. So the company has had a dedicated machine learning team that you and a couple other folks are leading and have been in a space for half a decade. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask, what advantage does that create? We see all these companies kind of scrambling to get in the AI space or, leverage kind of similar off the shelf models and solutions that's kind of available to the rest of us. So, what is it about the early investment that user testing has made that has, informed the way we build, and what advantages does that create?
Yeah, I think it's a great question of how does user testing have an advantage both by having a team that's been dedicated on machine learning for the past 5 years, as well as being a company that's been around for over 15, 17, 18. I don't remember the specific amount of years, but user testing has been around for enough time that it has a lot of historical data. So that when we started with a team 5 years ago, normally if you're a startup that's building up from scratch, you'll need to go build a customer base and get enough customers that you can start to accrue data so that you can start to do kind of machine learning that's domain specific. We were able to start with a team kind of very quickly because we had so much historical data that was already categorized and classified so that we could start to leverage and get an understanding of that. And the team has also kind of been able to figure out what's unique about this space. So in a lot of ways, you might be able to leverage, a generic sentiment model. But a lot of times those generic sentiment models were trained off of Amazon reviews or Twitter. And those environments tend to be pretty hyperbolic. Whereas if you imagine you're a B2B company that's doing some UX experience testing, like people don't tend to use profanity too much when they're testing your experience, or spewing hate. Even if they hate the experience, it's a lot more nuanced. So we needed to train more nuanced models specific to our domain. So while other people might be able to get to parity with like, hey, we also have sentiment, sure, but is it actually captured in a domain specific way? So by having a team that's been around for 5 years in this space, we have access to a lot more data. We have access to a lot more experience where we can leverage commercial off the shelf models. And we also know when we need to go train something specifically, how we can do that in a way that balances building something that truly is awesome for our customers, but also respecting privacy, security, compliance concerns that come to us from our customers.
Any tips on where and how to bring in testing? I know our team's done quite a bit in terms of dog fooding or champagne sipping, whatever you want to call it, to test the different experiences as we build our own solutions. So, what learnings do we have there that you're open to sharing?
Yeah, that's a great question about kind of what type of testing we can do to generate and boost confidence in our AI products. And I think it's starting all the way back from concept testing. There might be new opportunities to solve new problems based on AI, and making sure that you have the context to say, here's how we're going to solve this problem. And then layering in as you start having AI results, the main challenge that we saw early on was you have designers that pull in the best possible data and they build designs and say, would you like this? And they're like, and customers, absolutely. If you had absolutely perfect data from us and could create inferences that were beyond perfect, that'd be fantastic. What's really challenging is figuring out where is that threshold that says, okay, at some specific point in time, this is where we'd have to say that this can no longer generate inferences that are meaningful. Um, and that might also be something that is persona specific. Test early, test often, test across personas. And that allows for you to have these conversations because if you think about it from the standpoint of an AI product manager that wants to be successful, that wants to push out as many powerful AI products as possible, the most granularity you can have allows you to take something that is a generic risk that might be vetoable to say, well, actually, that risk is limited to just this one specific persona, and that persona doesn't normally leverage this type of the product. So I think we can roll this out with relatively little risk. So I coming from startups, I tend to like empowering people to push forward with full speed while mitigating risk. And that's how I think the more testing you can do, the more you can make a generic risk into a bounded risk that's acceptable to absorb and move forward.
It's great. And on your point about building trust in a system, I think that goes true for both the customers that we're serving, the external customers, as well as our internal teams, right? That are maybe consuming AI generated solutions on their own. So it's it's a path that we need to take in order to get alignment and trust across the board. For those kicking off AI initiatives, anything else that you haven't touched on that you wanted to share? We talked a little bit about data privacy and compliance. I know there's a lot of talk about bias, hallucinations, or even kind of data governance and those things. Any other recommendations you want to make to our audience?
Yes, I think that AI creates a lot of new opportunities for people, and we've seen that within user testing itself. Like we've had some of our most junior employees who've got really excited about the opportunities that AI could bring, that got exposure at the executive level that historically wouldn't have been the case. So I think one of the things that is neat if you're watching this and you are in a spot where you're like, I want to do something really cool with AI, but I'm not sure I'm the right person, there's no such thing as imposter syndrome yet in AI because no one knows. Everyone's talking about a podcast they saw or a PowerPoint they read or some tech that they tried out at a low level scale. So everything's new enough that as long as you're willing to learn and as long as you're willing to understand what risks you might be taking and mitigating those for your organization, it's kind of an equalizer that allows for even more junior people to get exposure to more senior people in building cross-functional groups that may not normally come together. So that would be my main thing is because I know as a founder you often feel this imposter syndrome of certainly someone at Google is way smarter than me or someone at OpenAI or pick any company you admire is going to be able to do this much better than me. That may be true, but likely in your organization, if you're the one that's excited about it, you're the best one to start the conversation and pull together a group of other people who are excited. So the first thing is just if you're excited about this, if you're listening to this, you're the right person to see how AI could fit specifically for the jobs that you do because you're the expert at that. And AI isn't doing anything new necessarily, it's applying it towards solving a problem, and most of the time, humans who are doing work know what would be challenging for AI to replace in them.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat and share your knowledge and experiences with us. For everyone who's joining us, thanks for being part of the conversation. And be sure to check out the other AI conversations we have on the user testing channel. We do speak with experts from all types of fields, from product, engineering, marketing, UX, design, UX research, and more on all things AI.